Hey, what's going on, everybody? It is Thursday. We have 6 MLB games on the main slate today. 6:45 starting time. No NBA today. Day off for NBA. Starting tomorrow, they'll have the 2 games back. But let's go ahead and get into the video. As always, if you enjoy the picks, appreciate it. Hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. You can check out Twitter. Stay more connected for updates at the DFS process. If you play on Prize Picks, you can use my code PROCESS for a deposit match up to $100, and you can check out the website as well if you want to join. All that stuff is in the description. Starting off with the pitchers today, we'll look at the totals. MLB's been very low scoring this year, like barely any home runs are being hit. We saw a couple of guys like Aaron Judge has more home runs than Aaron Judge, and some other hitters have more home runs than like the entire Tigers team, which is crazy. But just looking at the games today, you see a lot of teams in the 3-run total, 3 to 4, 4 to 5, not very many over 5, none of them over 5 today. For these 6 games, first game up, we have the Mets against the Phillies. We have Aaron Nola squaring off against Taijuan Walker. Nola has pitched a lot better this year. Last year, he struggled for most of the season, but he's been pitching pretty well this year, at least in terms of the strikeouts. Maybe getting a little bit unlucky, giving up 5 home runs already, but just 21 hits allowed, 34 strikeouts, only 5 walks. The whip is pretty solid for him. Matchup isn't easy against the Mets, but he just faced them last time, and he did put up over 20 fantasy points at home. I don't mind getting to Aaron Nola. Next up, we have Archer against Watkins. This one, I definitely think you can go to Archer if you wanted to, but he just hasn't gone super deep into games. You're looking at probably 4 to 5 innings max from him. They don't seem to want to throw him out there for more than like 80 pitches. He hasn't hit more than 79 yet. So seems like they're a little bit cautious with him. We know he has been injury prone over his career, and especially as of late. But both the Phillies and the Twins look like good stacks today. You have good price tags on some of the Phillies hitters. Alec Bohm, if he's in the 2 spot, batting almost 300 on the season, a couple of home runs, has made pretty good contact, doesn't strike out a ton. Like his price tag. I like the shots of Kyle Schwarber if he's batting leadoff against a righty. Taijuan Walker gives up some power, so Schwarber looks good. Also think you can maybe look to like Castellanos or Harper. Castellanos had a pretty good price tag, only 46. On the Twin side, we have good price tag on Luis Arraez, $3,800. I like getting to Carlos Correa at the shortstop position. He's been hitting the ball pretty well as of late, and there's not too many other good options at shortstop, especially with some of the teams having low totals today and potentially not having some of these other guys that are out for injury. Next up, we have the Astros against the Tigers, another spot where we can look to a stack here. The Astros look somewhat appealing. Altuve took one off the very bad spot yesterday, so he probably will sit today. He left the game. So I don't expect Altuve to play just after he was back, like 1 game since he's returned from the injured list. So you could see them go back to a couple of different ways, see who bats leadoff for them. It could probably be Chas McCormick, who's batted leadoff for them against lefties. We could see Aledmys Diaz probably take his spot in the batting order. But in terms of looking to the Astros hitters, like McCormick, especially if there's no Altuve, we could see him bat leadoff like he has at times against lefties. Bregman is always good against lefties. Those would be 2 favorites. And then you can even look to I don't mind getting to Alvarez as part of your stack, even though it's lefty-lefty. It just gives you a lot of pop. And if you don't expect Skubal to be in too long, you definitely can get some righties to face out of the bullpen. Next up, we have 2 good pitching options here with Robbie Ray and Shea McClanahan. Looks like there could be some rain here, but we have a roof in the stadium, so you shouldn't have to worry about that too much, and it's only a 60% chance. I think both pitching options look pretty good. Do like the Rays one a little bit better. Not looking at any of the bats in that game. And then we have none of these 4 teams here have a total above 3.9. We have the Nick Martinez against Luzardo. Luzardo's been pitching well for the Marlins this year. They brought him over from Oakland in a trade, and he hasn't really disappointed. Don't love targeting against the Padres with a lefty, just because we have some good hitters on that team, especially Manny Machado is always good against lefties. Profar has been hitting some home runs, so I probably like getting to the other pitchers that I mentioned, and then I'm maybe getting to like Miles Mikolas a little bit more. Martinez is cheap, but he sometimes gets into trouble with the walks. He already has 12 walks in just 19 innings. Not great with the strikeouts, about a strikeout per inning, but he's another guy that can get into trouble early in terms of just getting a lot of guys on base and then not able to go super deep into games. So for that reason, I like some other options compared to him. And then the final game with the Giants' offense is pretty weak, minus like Peterson, who's been carrying them. Nothing else in that lineup is scary at all. So I don't mind getting to Mikolas, a guy that does go deep into games. We've seen him throw 90-plus pitches multiple times. He got almost up to 100 pitches. So he's a guy that doesn't give up a lot of walks either. So he's able to go 7+ innings like he has the last couple of starts. And we haven't seen too many pitchers this year, at least, push past 5, even 6 innings, whereas Mikolas does give you that upside to get you 7+ innings. So I'm definitely going to probably get to Mikolas here at a pretty good price, like 82. I like Nola as well if you wanted to go a little bit cheaper. But I'm going with Shane McClanahan to go up against this strikeout-heavy Mariners team, especially like Suarez strikes out a bunch. We have Winker strikes out a lot. Crawford not so much, but the bottom of the order definitely have some strikeouts in there. In terms of the bats, Astros, Phillies, Twins are my favorite teams to look at. First base, think you can maybe look to like Miranda if you wanted to go to a value. He's only $2,100. He's had hit well for them in the minors. Hasn't really translated yet, but it's only been 3 starts for him, so plenty of time to turn around. He doesn't have any strikeouts in those 3 games, so at least he's making some good contact, at least making contact and putting the ball in play. Other options go a little bit up to like maybe Mancini against Archer, a guy that can tag him for a home run at a good price tag. Mid-range, Gurriel 39 looks pretty appealing, and then top end, don't have the top hitters, the top price hitters here have tough matchups, so I'm not looking to get to those guys. I think maybe Hoskins at 4K would be the highest I go. Over at second base, we have Jazz Chisholm. He's $5,700. He has hit the ball really well this year and gives you speed on the base paths as well, making a nice push for the Marlins, and they finally moved him up in the batting order. He was batting like bottom of the order for them at the start, and they finally bumped him up for good reason, as he gives you speed, gives them power at the top of the order. 57 is a high price tag, but definitely for tournaments, you can look to get to him to be different. Not looking at Edman, not looking at Cronenworth, lefty-lefty, not looking at Brendan Lau, lefty-lefty. This position is pretty weak, so I think Polanco makes some sense at 43. And then bottom price range, we have Gene Segura at 39 as a pretty good value. And maybe Aledmys Diaz if he's going to be in the lineup in place of Altuve if he's not able to go today, like his price tag. Over at third base, top end, you have Arenado. Not the easiest matchup and not the easiest part to hit in, but he gives you a lot of power, so I don't mind him. I'll probably go to Machado instead, 300 less, a guy that mashes lefties. But another guy that's very good against lefties is Alex Bregman, going up against one that in Skubal that does give up some power, and Bregman 4 home runs on the season. Hasn't done anything crazy, but at home he's done most of his damage, 375 and 32 at bats at home compared to 170 on the road, 625 slugging. So Bregman hopefully continues to hit well at home in Houston. Over at shortstop, we have top end Franco. He'll be one guy that you can look to as a one-off. Ray hasn't been as good as he was last year, but still he's a good strikeout pitcher. He does give up some home runs at times. But I'm going with Carlos Correa at 46. I like the price tag for him. I like the Twins stack a little bit. Batting 341 in his last 10 games, making good contact, gives you a lot of power. Lots of double-digit scores for him recently, and that can definitely continue. Great ballpark to hit in Camden Yards. And especially compared to at home in Minnesota, where the weather hasn't been great. It's cold. The ball should carry a lot more in Baltimore, and a guy like Correa can make some big damage. In the outfield, another guy that if I'm playing Correa, I can use as part of a stack is going to be Byron Buxton. Been awesome all year. He always hopefully can stay healthy all season, because that's always been a concern with him. So far, 7 bombs already for him. I think he's missed some time, at least a couple of games, but gives you some speed. He only has 1 stolen base on the season. Maybe he's a little bit worried about injuries and stuff like that. He did get hurt that one day where he slid into second base. But 22 Ks, it's a little bit concerning, striking out about over a third of the time. But overall, Watkins is not a strikeout pitcher at all, so he should be able to put the ball in play. Looking at Watkins' numbers, he only has 8 Ks in 17 innings, so he's gotten lucky with guys just making poor contact against him. But Buxton should be able to put the ball in play, not striking out against that pitcher. And then last guy in the outfield, you can look to some Phillies if you wanted to, like Castellanos, a good price tag, had a home run call back yesterday. But I'm going with Chas McCormick just to get to another Astro, a guy that I can kind of feel decent about playing, especially if he's batting leadoff at 3K. He would be a great value. It does give you some speed on the base paths. Hasn't had a stolen base yet, but overall, gives you some double-digit scores upside and opportunity to get some runs scored, maybe chip in an RBI or two, and he does give you some pop against lefties. He's a lot better hitter against lefties. So that's about it. Leaves you with about like 3,500 left for the last couple spots. You can go always with a cheap catcher, like a 2K catcher, and then pay up for a little bit more at the other spots. But that's about it for the DraftKings side. Let's go ahead and take a look at FanDuel. All right, over on FanDuel, sticking with the same top-end pitcher. He's actually not even the most expensive pitcher on FanDuel. They have Logan Webb, who's not as good of a strikeout pitcher as him, and McClanahan does get a good matchup against Seattle, in Seattle. And then you have Nola for 200 less, but tougher matchup for him going up against the Mets offense. You can maybe go to Mikolas, but none of these guys are as strikeout dominant or have as good matchups as McClanahan does going up against the Mariners, who do have some good hitters on their offense, especially like France has come out of nowhere. But, it's a very good pitcher compared to these other guys in terms of strikeouts. And then bottom, not looking at anybody. Maybe you can look to Robbie Ray just because he's cheap. Catcher, first base, you got some good price tags on some of the Phillies. Schwarber, 38. You can go Ty France if you wanted to, just to be different. But you also have Real Muto at only 32. Hoskins, 3K. And further down, you have Gurriel, 27. Over at second base, I plugged in Jazz Chisholm just because he's pretty affordable at only 33. Gives a lot of upside. Martinez gives up some walks, so if he does happen to walk Chisholm, you can always get a stolen base off of him. And with like 5 or 6 stolen base already for Chisholm, and the price tag is not that crazy. He should be probably the most expensive guy at the position. Moving on to third base, we have Machado at 42. He's pretty expensive, but he looks okay. But I like Bregman. It's going to be my favorite at 36. Other picks could be Alec Boehm at 29, depending on where he's hitting in the order, but he does give you some solid upside. And then you have Gio Urshela at only 24 as part of a twin stack. Shortstop, I stuck with Carlos Correa on both sides. 32 is a good price tag. J.P. Crawford's been hitting the ball well, but definitely not going to be looking at him against McClanahan. Just Phillies traded away him. Probably should have stuck with him instead of Didi. Hasn't really produced, but always hindsight is 2020. Other option would be maybe Jeremy Pena if you're looking to stack up the Astros today. And then in the outfield, I plugged in Buxton at 41. Second most expensive hitter here, but probably should be the most expensive. Other picks would be Bryce Harper, Schwarber, I like the price tag on Castellanos. And then I plugged in Chas McCormick just because he's only 27 and has a chance to be batting at the top of the order if there is no Altuve today. So that's about it for the video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments below. Best of luck, and I'll see you all next time.